All right, we'll call meeting to order.
Give somebody a permit for 47, that would be it.
42 right now.
Right.
Is there any public comment? See none, we'll continue the planning and zoning office report.
Pretty slow month, obviously, by the time of the year. Dad probably can tell you exactly the permits for, we had a couple. Maybe another house, didn't we? Yeah.
And it tells you,
Some new,
we did have a house, and we did have an addition.
5 others were
Had no ag permit.
no ag permits, so. And that 5,000 come on next month, that we
Yes.
talked about for the wind tower, we just got it a couple days ago,
All right.
but it's been cash.
What do the other permits qualify as? Since it's not a house or an addition, is it like a garage?
Garage,
Full building.
full building on residential.
Oh, okay.
Anything like that. You gotta have about 75 acres that have to be considered an ag permit.
Then it has to be ag related also.
So those are all also residential permits. We had several inspections, obviously. Bake's been pretty busy. Normal floodplain requests, and we had no application for zoning board of appeals at this time. When's the deadline on that? It's over, so we thought we were going to have one, but it never came.
It would have to be February.
Happy February. And second page, you can see mileage and inspection for everybody. On the claims. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. You guys had several questions for me. John came in. A lot of that's already on the agenda down the road, so I'll leave it for that.
Okay.
So any questions for me?
How long is Mr. Marshall going to stay?
He originally told us he's retiring as of end of the year, which technically he has. There's several new criteria coming down from the state for a replacement, or for him if he had come back to us and said he could move back from Florida in March like he always typically does. His wife been on to Florida for years, and they're not ready to go to Colorado now. They've kind of backed off on that. He would be wanting to come back and get certified, but that, that'd be a temporary, that'd be a really temporary fix anyway. Terry, we talked about it, with the new states coming down, you gotta be certified now, 7 years of experience, and you have to continue that every year, 16 hours. And classes are limited, they're offered, but they're limited, and requires probably quite a bit of travel to get to them. So, trick is going to be finding somebody that's willing to go back to class every year. Typically, what the class is 4 hours, or do they? So you could be talking 4 classes, or a combination of 4-hour classes and 1 full day. So.
Is that all around here?
Be a licensed plumber. So, I got a couple names from Carrie, we're gonna reach out to, again, just because, but Huck did say if we hadn't found anybody, he'd be willing to go get his certification when he got back from Florida in March. So we're kind of out without one right now, period. So, no backup, so that's where that stands.
I know we discussed at last meeting about putting something on the county website. I don't, was that ever done? I didn't see it on there.
I didn't do nothing with that at this point. We had an inquiry before that, so I wanted to run that through and we haven't heard back from him, so I don't doubt if that's gonna be, plus a few other things I found out, probably it's not gonna be worth pursuing. So, I can have Bree and put something on after the meeting today, so.
I don't think it'd be a bad idea, at least cover all the bases.
And then, we got a couple nights from Terry, like I said, and I'm gonna reach out to them first of the week.
You think it's money keeping people from wanting that?
It's not a lot.
That's what I mean.
And then plus, I mean, we would pay for, we pay for the trip, the amount of travel and the mileage and the class, the fees for the classes and stuff. But, and the other problem is you have to be available when we call. And so basically you're looking at someone that's retired. Or has a really good boss, or has lots of employees and he's willing to, if he's the owner, that he's willing to take off or run out and do quick inspections, so. But I mean, yeah, we'll put it out there and
This must be a problem that a lot of other counties are gonna run into, or all of them.
like everything else, I mean, more rules and regulations, and the state takes on it. And tougher it's gonna be to find somebody to cover, especially in smaller jurisdictions. Larger jurisdictions will probably have a bigger problem, they probably more inspections, they pay better. Just like anything else. Okay? That's it.
Yeah, we'll move on to discussion of revision to the wind tower ordinance, changing the setbacks from building to property line. Since we don't have a quorum, there probably won't be any action taken.
On that, I reached out to Jim just to, to go through the wording. It's that page 9 in your wind tower ordinance where it states that. It's not worded very well at all. It gives, actually, it makes you, gives you the impression if you go either or, primary residence or non-participating property line. I would suggest that, I'm not saying it doesn't need to be revised. I think it does need to be clarified. But whether we have to go through the hearing process again to do it, somebody would consider that a major change. You could argue intent, but then you're starting to get into legal questions. So if you want to clean it up quick, because EDF have copies of the new ordinance. They requested it, so they have what it's stated now. So if we want to clean it up, if you want to clean it up before they apply, we may, want to move on it sooner rather than later. I'm not, but you may have to go through the process to do it. So the sooner would be a prudent thing that I would get, I would suggest that you talk to Jim and get you choose, or John, whoever. It's not my decision to make if you want to go through that. Or, if you think it's just a wording thing, and you can push it through and fight the lead, see what happens down the road.
Let's just say, I think the safe bet is to just take it back to the zoning board of appeals, play it safe. We don't have any fights down the road. A little bit longer road, but do it right.
It's something we can't vote on today, though.
Yeah, we can't vote on it today.
I can show you what I put together for it, but if we can't vote on it, I don't know.
Yeah, we can discuss that, so if you want to.
But you can, I don't know. Like I said, can the full board recommend going to zoning board, starting that process? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works. If we can recommend, Kyle, on something like that, if we have to have a vote.
Find out what you're saying.
Yeah, that's true.
And you can start the process, because, like I said, we don't have the hearing, we wouldn't be able to have a hearing until February, March. February.
The end of February.
So, in February, so if you don't get it, it's a good thing, it'd be a good thing to find out for the full board, because if you're not, you're looking at the end of March before you can have a zoning board of appeal hearing.
What I did here was I took that whole paragraph, and some of it like the first part of it.
Yeah. If you read that, it does, on non-participating, it says from property line, But then it also, right behind it, it says, and from primary residence.
Right.
So it's not worded, it's jumbled.
Well, I mean, take a look at what I've got here and see what you think. If you think this is, clarifies it and so forth, well, maybe we should pursue that, but.
Yeah, you just basically remove that part that says from primary residence and non-participating, which that's the way you probably intended it. But okay. But yeah, if we can find out for the full board meeting, if you guys, if they can recommend that go to the zoning board and clean that up a whole lot sooner.
The only part in here that could still be confusing might be in the sentence right after it talks about Douglas Township where, and I said that the distance for the setback would be measured from the point of the primary structure foundation and/or the property line closest to the Wex Tower, because if it's a participating person then, or property, then it's from the structure. If it's not, then it's from the property line. So that's why I worded it that way. But if there's,
We can get some help on that too.
you know, you'd have to expand it a little bit.
Because you're excluding Douglas Township because they have their own, which is, you know.
Right.
And you may not even have to reference exactly what Douglas Township things are.
Well, that's in the ordinance right now. And it was always a question in my mind, you know, if Douglas Township was put in there when the setback was at 1,500 feet because they wanted 2,000. But the question in my mind is, if the county has a setback that's greater than theirs, can they have one that's less, or how does, you know, I mean, it's like...
I think that came up when you were talking about it, but I think if they have a planning commission and have their own ordinance, they can overrule.
Right, that's how they did this.
Either way.
Right, that's how this...
Either way, either less or more strict.
Right, but...
So if you just reference the Douglas Township ordinance and refer to it, I don't think you have to state what their ordinance is. And that beats them the question.
Well, like I said, I left that in there because it was there.
That's fine.
So.
Okay.
But if you're saying somebody's thinking about filing an application,
Well, that's why I said, if you want, if you're gonna move, if you wanna change it, clean it up, then I will get moving on it.
yeah.
And the soonest we can do it would be end of February, and if that's what the full board can recommend, that you can move that process along, and we'll find that out before Tuesday.
It looks pretty good to me. You know, you got it wrote out.
So we need, you're suggesting that we should go through the ZBA no matter what, or do you want to
Yeah,
talk with Divine first and find out what he thinks?
And I guess we could talk with Divine, but I would say as of right now, let's stay on the course just to go through ZBA and just do it right.
Then we gotta hope we can have a forum here next month.
Yeah. The only reason I say that is that just to keep the county from being tied up in court for years and years.
This
Some
other,
properties, it could be a major difference,
Yeah.
depending on where the house is.
Well, the new wind tower, I mean, if that was under a new ordinance, geez.
I kind of went through the ordinance rather quickly to see if there were some other things in there, and that's where Bob said that I went and talked to him on this letter that he's written here. Because one of the things that we talked about, and I think has come to the fore, and really is probably the impetus for this change in the setbacks as well, is the experiences that we're having up in Mills Road. And these two areas here about, you know, again, it's evident that the wind companies just are not going to live up to their obligations. They have not apparently filed any reports as they're required to. We don't have a copy of the current liability insurance. For all we know, they don't even have one.
Yeah.
Well, they had to have one originally to get the...
Originally, but
Now, what we don't know is what the renewal date is on it.
Right.
And if the renewal date's not up yet, then we're fine. But if it has come up, then
We have a copy of the one they filed initially, doesn't that have a date on
We have
it?
to, I would assume it would, it went to Jim's office, didn't it, Deb?
Yeah, we don't have any of that.
Okay.
And we can find, I can call him and find out if he has a copy of what the renewal date is on it. And then, but when I sent these out, I haven't heard anything back yet. But with the ordinance the way it's written, there is no piece to that. It's a request. I mean, obviously, it's in the ordinance, what violations, what is their fine. There is nothing, as far as that is concerned. I do know you increased under the new ordinance on the liability, you went from 10 million to 20.
And that was just keeping with inflation and the cost of things.
So if you want to put some teeth into those two requirements, that would be something you would include in what you're doing with the setback.
To me, that's one of the things, not just with our zoning stuff, but pretty much everything the county does. If they don't have teeth and stuff, we're just spinning our wheels. What are we here for?
Yeah.
We're wasting our time if we don't have some way to make, something needs to be done. You gotta have to speed down the road, the policeman stops you, you go to court and pay a fine.
Well, what do you suggest as far as the fee?
For this kind of thing?
Yeah, for this kind of thing.
I don't know.
I'm not sure
I
what
think
would be
it's
fair for the county.
I don't know. That's one of the problems. It's kind of a unique thing with the wind farm, because if they fail to comply, what are you going to do? If you say there's a fine, how are you going to enforce
You know that
that?
this is school going forward. All the ones that we got now, there's no fine, and will never be a fine.
Right, no, I understand.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, on the one hand, we got to have teeth in there. On the other hand, having teeth in the ordinance.
And the
is great.
operation,
You have to
for
enforce
me,
it.
and for me, as on the assessment side, the operation and maintenance reports would be valuable, because I would know for sure when they actually had to put a new generator up, if they had to.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, if they got a huge crane running around out there and putting up, you should be able, somebody will probably call in and tell me, but it'd still be nice to have it in writing if that's what they had to do.
Well, we also have things in the ordinance about when they're out of operation for a period of time, they have to be decommissioned and other things, and you're not going to know that unless you don't have that report.
So,
And I guess I would suggest on the liability policy that, number one, we find out from Jim Devine what the expiration date is. The other thing would be to make anything like that you send over to him, to make a copy of it and keep it in the file here, so we've got it for reference. But in the way of a fine, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what would be.
What,
Going back to not getting the county sued, be overly.
what I understand,
anybody else in Champaign County have or McLean have
I don't know, I'll have to dig into that, I guess. What I know, like as far as the fines and that go, with the Settlers wind farm, the road commissioner has had a lot of fines over there that he has really not been able to collect. And so they just don't want, they refuse to pay them, what it boils down to, so.
I know there's been some,
We don't have the power to go out and shut them down. I guess that's really the problem, is it not? I mean, you can't say, okay, we're gonna pull the switch on you and you're done.
I wouldn't think so.
And they know that,
Yeah.
so it puts us in a really
And
bad
and is it something that the county wants to do anyway, go that far? Because then, like you said, you're messing with, in part of the ordinance, if it's offline for so long, then you have to start dealing with the other side of it, which would be the tax side.
Well, these are some of the questions that, you know, when you even get into this kind of thing, that you need to look at it and examine, and make sure everybody's on the same page. You know, people got into this thinking, oh boy, look at all the money, look at all the money. They didn't stop to think about some of these things. And again, the experiences up in Milks Grove, to me, you know, those Wind Farm people, they know what they can get away with. And they'll take advantage, and we're not the only ones that's being taken advantage of. And, you know, they don't care. We come out there and slap them on the wrist. Withholding those permits is the only thing that we really have to cause them to want to do what they're supposed to do. Morals and ethics and living up to your word is something they never heard of. And it's a sad commentary. It's part of the American way of life, I guess, in a lot of respects. But it's something we're on the other side of the fence. We have to try and determine what we can do, what we can live with. I mean, what's the penalty if they don't pay their taxes? Can you shut them down then?
Well, I mean that's been a discussion we've had in my organization numerous times. What happens if they just don't decide not to pay and say no? And that turns into be a fight that typically would be taken on by your school districts because they're the biggest recipient, and as far as prosecution and legal, you know, you would have to have group effort, you know, with school districts, you know. And I would think the Illinois State School Board Association would be very involved in something like that because they got involved big time when the nuclear plant was going online. They were involved, so that became a special assessment type thing too. How they assess and what, you know, and they work and compromise and argue and work, and that's where this law came from anyway. It's the same kind of deal. So I don't see the interest. I don't see where it benefits the wind and energy industry at this point to fight that because they are doing well. Now, will it change? Yeah, probably.
They're skating on thin ice from a public relations standpoint, because they want that money from the federal government.
Right. And that's, you know, that's what it would be. Believe me, this county wouldn't be the only jurisdiction scrambling with that.
Well, I guess what I'm kind of leading up to and answering, you know, your question about a fine and so forth is if we establish any kind of a fine and they didn't pay it, can we file a lien against the wind towers? Is that the remedy that we have?
Well, I guess you just file a lien against anybody. I mean, I'm not the attorney.
I mean, neither am I.
They might laugh at you.
Could be.
$1 billion outfit.
I mean, all you can do is, if you want to put some teeth into it, you can state a fine, and if they don't pay it, they don't pay it, and then go down that process, down after that's what happens. If, you know, the three current ones we got, they're relevant anyway. EDF has made noises that they wanted to go to another phase. Now I've talked to people that said they really don't want to put more towers in Iroquois, but they need Iroquois ground to put more transmission lines. So, but I've also heard they were doing more towers and, you know, expanding to southern Grove Township too. So I don't know, because you don't know when or if or ever they're going to apply. I do know that they're climbing with the current general contractor and such that they need to change general contractor, or they're not going to have anybody to go on.
One question I guess that I've got, you know, when we're talking about their plans and so forth, do we have any information as to where they have already signed up participants? Do they come in and file?
If they, typically when they start doing new leases, they report one, and then we start seeing them come in and do that avenue. But if they do, it's a private, until they report anything, unless the property owner wants to divulge that he did it, we're not going to know.
Well, the reason I say that is because going back several years, there were some people I was acquainted with in Ford County, and in Ford County, they were able to go into the county clerk's office.
Right, they
And
report.
they had that recorded.
There's all the leases are recorded here, too, for Logan, for Sheldon.
Right, but these were leases that were in Ford County that I'm talking about were recorded before anybody
Oh, yeah.
put up a tower.
Yeah, I got leases at my office, but I used to get them because I wanted to kind of see how, and the leases from Sheldon, I got 4 or 5 years before they were even in the ground in Sheldon.
Okay.
Because they were negotiating with property owners, and they had to get so many participating people before it was viable to even do it. So they had to start doing this process, and they had public meetings, and you know, and they got some that go along, and they got some that didn't. But finally, they got, I'm assuming they got enough participating ones that they could get a footprint, and they said, okay, now it's viable. But that process took years.
Do you have knowledge of any leases in Oaks Grove that's been recorded outside?
Not outside the
There's been no talk out there either, just rumors, but I haven't heard anybody talking about, and even being approached.
Well, they can't really apply for anything until they get that stuff completed.
We'll see if they start doing leases, then we'll know that something's coming. But the timing when it comes, we have no idea.
I guess the thing is, put this on the agenda for next month, and we can think about fines between now and then, can't we?
Yeah, and we can get Jim to get a nice legal write-up for it, that way we can have it all ready to go. Do we have a motion to table?
Can't make any more.
Yeah, no more. Well, we'll table it.
Okay.
Put it on next month's agenda. Okay. Next on the agenda is a general discussion of dilapidated properties.
If I come up with
You wipe your feet off first?
John asked me to come to speak about unsanitary properties when we cannot get voluntary compliance. There's 3 properties that run on here. The first one on the list is Delray. This is what started the whole discussion. This property, as you can tell by the photos, it's, you know, the dilapidated house, the real estate in, the whole property is overgrown with trees. This property, when I checked into it, we normally write, what I normally do is, when you check on the property, dilapidated property like this, you find out who owns it, and that's who gets the certified letter to ask on the voluntary compliance to get it cleaned up. On this property, the tax bill comes straight back to Bob. Then I found out that the taxes on this has been forfeited to the tune of almost $14,000. There, go ahead. This property has been on a tax sale for years, and the original tax buyer wasn't doing his work, and finally went out and looked at it and realized, I don't want that, because it's falling apart, and I could never get rid of it, and it would cost me money to tear it down. And so he filed what's called a sale there. And you have to show due cause to the courts. The law is very liberal, very conducive to tax buyers, so there was no recourse, so Jim had to agree to the sale and heir. Mindy has a special fund that comes out of all the money that he uses to pay the back taxes, he gets reimbursed, so he's out. What happened then, again, it went on the tax. That's when those years are what they put in what's called forfeiture. And then Mindy put it on tax sale again, and some other tax buyer bought it. And now we're in the same boat again. And that's $13,500 with all back taxes, fines, and everything. And there's really, on the county side, there's the property still entitled to the owner of record, and the law is very clear as far as how we can get control. And the problem is, Mindy pulled us from the tax sale this year, so nobody wanted to buy the tax. But that doesn't, and we need Mindy to talk about it, and this doesn't stop, this doesn't help the process. But the problem is, if a tax buyer is sitting there in the crowd and doesn't know what the property is like and buys it, then it puts her in the same position. So she didn't want to take the risk of the tax buyer buying the tax on this property, because she would end up having to file on her sale and heir, and that fund is running out of money. It's running out of money, because there's been a lot of them lately, Malin and Margaret, just, more tax buyers are finding out what the property conditions are like, I understand. They don't, and they're finding out the loophole, to the court system, they're getting relief, which I think should be tightened up.
Should be a buyer beware.
Yeah, should be. So, no return. So recourse for the county. How do we clean this up? Obviously, there's no response from the buyer or owner of record for anything, for tax bills or tax sale, for penalties. If I send out a zoning, if I send out and like Terry, same thing, certified, coming back, we've been signed for it. It just sits there. Basically, it just sits. Now, the other thing, if we could get tax buyers to keep their hands off of it, and then you put it on a tax sale, then the trustee can get it. But that's got to be your process before you can county can get title to it through proper tax understanding. But then the problem is, once we get title to it, we still have a property in the condition, and we can't get rid of it. And there's no funds, and that's what the whole dial is. All is to get some funds, all three of these properties. I spoke to Jim tonight, he would go, I've exhausted all my stuff on the other two, as well as your instinct on the low property with the trailer. Jim's talked to both of these other two property owners or representative for them. No one has any money to do anything on their own property. Jim is more than willing to file all the paperwork to get the county to clean these things up. But the kicker is there's no funds set aside at the county level to clean property. The quickest procedure is the condemnation route. Condemn the property, take the title to them. But then the liability and everything converts to the county. So if there's no funds, tear them down.
Who's liable right now? Some child?
Technically the property owner, but if you can't, these two have people that we have been able to contact, Bill, right?
The one there in
Lowell, I know for sure.
the other one,
Elizabeth Brown, I think she's still around. She's still around, but, technically.
and her house is in kind of for the Ashland property, and something similar to the Dell Ray, because I think maybe pulled them for last year, because as you can tell by the current photos I've taken, I mean, like the Ashton property, that complaint was originally started back in '09. The Loda property originated in '06. I mean, if you look at the original photos of what files I could find from the transfer from Fort Iroquois Health Department over here to Iroquois, there's a few files that I couldn't locate at the time, but I mean, the Loda property, the house is fallen in farther. The Ashton property appears to me there's more cars being brought onto this property. You know, and the house itself there at Ashton, originally when I went there with Shane Reed with the search warrant to go through the house and collect all the information from Jim, the windows are all intact. They're all gone. I mean, the other day I didn't walk up any farther than I
That
looked
could
at
be, that could be some kids coming out there and just...
every window in all the cars was broke out before, yeah. And that goes
I
to,
can take you to Chicago and show you.
but I mean, these properties, they sit by themselves, let's take what it is, just, kids can go there, just like you said, somebody's going to get hurt one of these times.
It's like shining a bright light for kids to come out there and monkey
Where's
around.
the property in Ashton? This is property in Ashton?
Yeah, they have the address back on 16,
Okay.
Fort Ashton,
Okay.
And that's,
1100 road.
1100, 2 miles east of Ashton, go north, so it's about 3/4 of a mile on the east side.
I think one of the concrete, or not concrete, limestone concrete, I want to say it's limited. I mean, it was a
Yeah, it
beautiful
was
house.
limited.
It was a beautiful house.
She was one of the original
There's a
dog
state
owners.
statute that talks about mowing grass and so forth, when people don't keep that up, but I think you charge that back to the property owner. I don't know if that plays into any of this. I believe that was enacted primarily for the city of Palatine, but I have to dig into that a little
Both
bit.
I call it the local code, it's in your part where you can take action to lien on the property. The nuisance ordinance you can use the exact same thing. The thing is, there's no funds to pay anybody to clean up the property, that's what...
Right, I understand that's what you and I have been talking about, but I mean, we got other issues besides just getting the funds. We have to have the authority to go in and tear these properties down.
And the quickest way is condemn them. But that requires knowing that you have funds to do it.
But then you're also saying that could take 3 years?
No. The quickest way, the tax, going through the tax deed route is a 3 to 4 year process. And then the trustee gets it, and then we get title to it. But when the condition is in, the trustee would never be able to get rid of it. They would go to basically auction, but then still the county incurs liability, and nobody would buy these at auction because it would cost them money to tear. They may want the land, but they're not going to have the money to tear the building.
That's the only way we can, I can see we can do is to go in and clear the property completely and try and
But
sell
the
it.
bottom line is you and Jim Devine need money to do it.
And that's kind of what it needs to be. And whether we need to set up, if we have to make a recommendation to set up a condemned, like a lot of villages have fund for condemned property. I mean, I don't know, if he could take some of the flood money, stuff and put it in a fund, because they've torn down numerous properties in town after they condemned them and stuff. The village of Donovan, for a lot of them old businesses downtown Donovan, I don't know what funds, whether they came up with the funds, or they did grants or whatever.
They had one like that in Buckley, I don't remember now, if the village wound up paying for it or whatever, but they were going back and forth for a long time.
Here's the big question. What's it gonna cost to clean some of these properties?
I got a ballpark figure on the Dell Road one. That was, I asked the guy that takes down majority of the farm stuff out there that I deal with the wells on. He knew where this one was. He said prevailing wage tear that house down and to clean up the majority of the trees, because he has to take the trees out to even get to the house. He said that'd be between 5 and 6. Yesterday when I was talking with Jim, based on that figure, we were guesstimating the one where at Ashland would be your most expensive, maybe run as high as 15, the one in Loda, maybe like 10. By the time, I mean, you got some stuff, I don't know, Jim's not here. When they get the property, if they can write off all the scrapping and stuff, you know, out of the call. I mean, like the one in Ashland, has got quite a few automobiles that are sitting on it. You know, if you can get all that cleaned up and get that taken off.
If we cover this by ordinance, which it sounds to me like we might be moving in that direction.
Well, it is.
We have, well, but like in the wind farm ordinance, if we have the responsibility to undertake the demolition of the wind tower, we have the right to recover scrap money out of that. So the same thing should apply
What we
here.
had last week was pretty
I
good.
know, right? It's right next to the rain style elevation. I mean, all these properties, none of these properties, actually, the far as the ground is concerned, the Ashland, if it was spare ground, would be worth the most. You could I don't know, I'm sure what it's zoned. It has the most acres. It has the most acres, and there's potential. You know, the mud, and, you know, somebody wanted to redo that, actually, a beautiful house, but it costs a lot of money. But, and when talking to the city of Topeka, they figured their average cost per house was about $7,500 to tear down. And level it off. If they didn't sell the lots off, they turned them into public, because they're in a floodplain, they turned them into green space. But these aren't obviously floodplain issues. But even when, you know, we're asking about what reduce, even if you got, you know, cost $6,000 to clean this up and it's sold it for $1,000, you're still gonna keep burning back tax money on it. You know, right now, there's nothing that.
But the county never get their 5,000 back.
Not for, well, for a long time in taxes, I mean,
And that's if you can sell it. A town like Delray's got a lot of vacant properties in it.
but it also brings down the values of the other places. I mean, I'm sure people come in here. In a situation like Delray, adjacent property owner, the owner would probably be, just to have control of their neighbor's control of the property, they wouldn't probably want to pay a lot for it, but they would probably do something. But the lower property, the Ashland property, the market would bear ground for that. If it's buildable, is anybody. If it's not, then you're looking at the adjacent farm who would just tear everything down and put it in the farm ground. And then you're looking at anywhere from 4 to 8, 9,000 acres. And both of those are buildable. I mean, even the low, it's only like a mile out of town. Well, yeah, but we have to check zoning, and if we don't, I mean, Deb would know more about that than me. I'm sure they have existing well and septic, but I'm sure they're not operational. I don't know, we wouldn't have any idea.
I guess my thought on this would be that it sounds like that we are all in agreement that these properties need to be taken care of.
So they're all over, and at what point do we draw the line?
Well, it'd be,
What's considered a health hazard?
if there was like some type of fund, you know, set aside, I'll throw out $100,000 out there in a fund to do stuff with properties that the county board, you know, I'd bring them in to the point where I can't work with this person anymore, it's gotta go to the bond, then the county board and Bob the same way with the zoning issues. We can't do anything more, Jim's set to go, we need some type of funding, and then you guys all look at and say, okay, well, that one we can address this year, but this one over here, Terry has to sit, because we only have a certain funding, you know, and then any money that's recouped off the sale gets thrown back into that fund. And there's some properties out there that are this kind of condition, but the tax return, the owners are paying the tax, and they're they're not maintaining the property, but they're paying the tax, and it's still their property.
Now, then that becomes what's in the ordinance, what we can do, and then we go back to the voluntary cleanup, and you start working with them, and, you know, keeping the heat on them to do something. But that can drag out. We've been fighting that for years, but we are getting we're generating tax dollars from those, they are paying taxes.
So where's the lowest one in Westchester on here, they're paying it in full.
Okay, but if they're living, say, in a nicer house, and we pay to have this go down, can we put a lien?
You put a lien on
The amount of what it took to tear this down against your house?
on that property, or you want on the other, where they're...
Well, I lien against them, yeah,
Well,
because...
it'll be a lien against the property they own, but it's the thing coming up with the fund to get that property, you know, to get...
This is a little more difficult because they are paying the taxes. Jim has been still working, and he talks to them periodically to get that trailer out there.
He's not making any progress.
But there's no funds to get it. That's why we can't see
You
it.
got to court in the conjunction to get it out of there now, whether you can, you know, but...
Well, we got a situation perhaps where we can say we have dilapidated properties on other operations where the taxes are delinquent. That's a different
These are
case.
different cases, they're all different, and they all have to be approached differently. Bottom line is, we don't have any mechanism, any funding to remedy a situation that can be remedied in a hurry if we had funds, like the Del Rey. If we had fund with $30,000 in the demolition of the property, Jim could go to court, go through the condemnation process. We could get title to it. I'm not sure how the time frame would be, but I would think it'd be within a year. Get title to it, go in, tear it down, and get it turned over to the adjacent property owner. And boom, it's cleaned up. We get it's on the tax roll, and we move forward. But like I said, every case is different, but there's no funding to approach this process because we don't have it. And there may never be funding because it would be a budget issue, and that would have to be up to finance if they wanted to do something like that.
Let's use the Ashton property, for instance. We had this Ashton property, we took it, cleaned it up, and sold it, whatever it may bring. What's a fair property like this worth on the tax rolls?
How many times?
I mean, assuming it's, just assume it's, say, 5 acres.
It's buildable, and through, with current zoning ordinances, if it's a site that somebody can build a residence on, in Ashland, I'd say, if it's, say it's 4 acres, I'd say it's worth 20 to 25,000. Fair, with the caveat that it's buildable, and it would not have to go through zoning hearings or rezoning hearings or anything like that. Now, if you have to go through all that process to get it through zoning, I mean, I'm sure it's A1 out there. Yeah, I know, yeah.
That's 3.9.
Yeah, 4 acres, so you're looking at 5,000 acres, you're good, and if it's buildable. If it's not, then obviously it would reduce the market value on it. Or you say, okay, it's not buildable, what's our best option? We own the farm ground around it. And then you're looking at, you can sell it to them, probably not at the market with that farm ground, but you could do it at a reduced rate. And then you can basically have no...
How much would that bring in tax?
Okay. 20,000 at residential, 20,000, a third of that is 7 times 0.09 rate. Not even 50 bucks.
So it take us 100 years to get our money back.
I'm not fond of that idea.
If you had a set amount of money, you said $100,000, let's say $100,000, and you and Jim Devine just spent $20,000 one year, then the county board could put only $20,000 on the following year just to keep it, let's say like $100,000.
I think we got an issue here that, what you're saying, I understand. On the other hand, we have an issue here to try and determine what image we want to have for this county. Also, we have an issue as far as safety where the public is concerned with these kind of properties. I mean, we have to address that. Every government, like you said about all the different cities that have a fund apparently set aside for this type of thing.
And it's given here, I mean, like my husband, liability falls on the homeowner. Well, I can speak to Jim as far as the law goes, that there may be something that the county doesn't do anything. It also puts some type of liability back on the county. I would say,
if you can't find, if the property is abandoned and you can't locate an owner any place, wouldn't the county be responsible? I would think so. But
This can't all happen just in 1 year.
No, but this is to start the dialogue, because it's been going on for all these years, and they just, we do our work, and then it just kind of sits. This has been going on for 10, 15 years. We've had stuff going on this property in Bodo.
I picked it up in 06, as far back as I could find it.
This deal started out in 09, but didn't she have an issue with the animals? With animals before?
Yeah, I heard that name before, cats, I think, or something, had like
She's
a
been
thousand
reporting
over.
many times.
Yeah.
The one in Dell was great, one.
You're always going to have that with any property. You have to, the processes are in place. But, I mean, and we already have the ability to condemn property just by law, because, but we don't have a funding mechanism to do anything about it if we condemn it. And then we put ourselves definitely in more liability if we get title to it and we can't get it torn down.
Now, the way I look at it is, if we know who the property owner is, we can contact them. It's their liability. It's different if Jim says the property owner is nowhere to be found, and the county assumes that liability. Then the county, I can see spending $20,000 to tear down some buildings just to keep the county from being sued. But as an every year basis, going through and tearing down dilapidated properties, I know Kyle probably thinks the same way I do. I can think of better ways to blow 20 grand or 10 grand. I mean, we got other places in the county we need it more. I'm not against setting up a fund for properties that are specifically in the realm of the county that's going to be liable for any issues that may occur there.
But even on the other one, we have to remember, it's all, it's not what is. A kid gets out there and gets killed, it's when. Someday, you take like a property like National, there's no one there. You remember when you were kids, there's not much to do around here, so these things invite trouble is what they do. Knock on wood.
Dilapidated building.
there's a lot of ramifications to this thing, though, Dan, too.
I understand that.
You know that Ken Baragray is working hard to try and build up the economy in this county and bring more people to live here. And if you got a county full of dilapidated houses, you're not going to be attracting people to come and live
Yeah,
here.
we drive around. I can think of just offhand, just on way out to the farm, I can think of 2 or 3. They're there.
That's what, to have a fund, pick and choose which one, there's no more push for stuff, so I'm gonna get something cleaned up. They keep getting worse and worse. This is just the fund that starts cleaning up their property. It's for these problem properties that are taken care of.
Because I just off the top of my head, I know 5 old farm sites in the county that have been totally torn down, burned, and the ground is now farm. The people, but that's the farm family, whether, either they stole off the ground or, and the other people didn't want the buildings anymore, there was no attachment to the building anymore. But that takes care of itself. And
There's a lot of examples of that. I know people right across the street from me, the guy tore their own place down. I know another guy a few miles from Ford County that built a brand new house right next to his old one,
But
And when he got the new one done, he tore the old one
These
down.
are individually owned properties that they don't own the farm ground around it. What do you, and that's a discussion we could have as far as how you want to be aggressive with it, you want to sit there and sit back on it.
And it's like you said, some people probably want to tear it down, they have no money to
But
do
like
it.
this one, we're actually some point. I mean, it's not like the health department or myself going out and looking, you know, like property, but, you know, yeah, they call in and complain about this. And most people will comply. I mean, just like Bob said, he can take a 5. I know I can think of at least 15 of the same type of structures where I wrote an original letter and within a year the house was gone because my job is to also do the voluntary experience. If this person says, Terry, it'll take me a year to get that all taken care of. It's like, that's fine, put it in writing, and the following year I'll come by to assess the problem. Most of them were taken down before then.
Yeah. Kyle, you want to add anything into this?
I don't have a problem with putting that up front. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to, put a fee on it, but is there a grant that somebody can apply for the health department? Is there any grant that?
I'm not aware of any.
No, you can't put a fee on it, somebody's not paying anything. How do you, like an automation, I
I mean, obviously, you know, to instruct Jim to condemn a property would require board approval. You have to investigate the individual case, the individual property, and then make a decision if it's viable to do it. If it's not viable to do it, you don't do it. And if it is viable to do it, you do it, and then, but then you have to have the funds to follow through with that process. Not every property you're going to say, you know, no, it's not cost effective, it's not, you know. Others, like this one in Delray, I guarantee you, we could get rid of the ground if it was cleaned up. The people, the adjacent property owners have acquired it, but they're not going to do anything because of the house, that house and stuff that's still there. And there's all that back to the $13,500 sitting back there. Just to buy it, because they would have, we'd have to negotiate with, you know, with the tax bodies to release, you know, write off the forfeitures on those, which can be done, but we don't have title to property to do that. Malin is the perfect example, the most recent one. The city went through the process to get title to the property, but then they had to get all the tax bodies to sign off on all the back forfeitures on it, which took some doing because it was a substantial amount. Obviously, this is, considering the Malin building, we're talking $150,000 probably, minimum, probably more than that, if I remember right, but tax bodies wouldn't worry about this one so much. But there is a process to do it, but Argo was aggressive, they got somebody to buy it, and they had a stipulation of the contract, so I believe they have to have it cleaned up within a year. So substantial improvement of the property within a year, and all over with it.
Have you figured out what the bottom dollar you have to start?
That's why I came to you guys.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
That's a question for the finance committee. They can put in, I mean, it's something, like I said, the process would be to such that would, you know, you can't just condemn.
Do a little bit every year.
10, 20 properties in a year, you're not going to do that. You have, you know, just like this one, what, $6 grand? $6 grand top, you know, if you had $20,000 sitting there in a fund, and you do that property that year, and then the next year, you replenish that $6 grand that you spent.
At least you're making progress.
You're making progress, and you don't have to, like I said, it's individual case, you don't have to do anything, it's just sitting there. But if you don't have it there, you can't do anything. And then it goes benefits on when you go through the tax cycle sale process, or it doesn't, and nothing happens. And then it just sits there and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And like John said, that's, you know, you start getting written complaints or telephone complaints from property owners. Aren't you doing anything with that? It looks like crap.
Just like the one there by Lodo, within a quarter mile, there's two properties that look like that. One of them, he voluntarily tore down his place. He's been farming. This one still sits, you know. I mean, they were on the same road within a quarter mile. One complied, one can't comply because of funding.
I know.
There's no change in ordinance for us on this. We can legally condemn a property, any county entity can if it's under their jurisdiction because with our nuisance ordinance and that, we can do that. It's just a question is once we get title for it, we don't have the money to tear it down, then you increase your liability and your exposure. And there's no point in condemning the property if you don't have the money to clean it up.
I think the best place to start is just to recommend this to finance for next month's agenda, just because we really can't take any
And it won't be a
action.
discussion until next year, about the year anyway. It's just something to talk about, get it out there, and hash it out. If finance doesn't want any part of it, and the full board doesn't want any part of it, then we just deal with it as we deal with it now.
Why don't you work on a real good figure that you think is, you know, for like maybe $3,000 a year or something, you know?
To start with, sure.
I'd say a flat fee or a flat number, $20,000 a year in the account.
I would think that if finance is gonna be the one that puts up a fund,
We
then
do 2 or 3,
Yeah.
but I'm still not completely sold on this.
No, yeah, and like I said, every property is different. There's some properties you can't, you wouldn't want to, depending on the cost and what it is, if there's a property owner that's still out there, that's paying, like the Loda one, paying the tax, makes it much more difficult. But if you got properties that are totally, you can't locate an owner, you're not getting any tax revenue from it, it's just sitting there and nothing's being done, that's different. And that's what's happening with the one in Del Rey, for sure.
And like I said, the health department isn't going out looking for these. These are legitimate complaints.
I understand that. I'm a little skeptical and hesitant on it, just from the financial side of it. And I can't help but think.
Villages are very reluctant to do that.
Yeah.
They know the cost. But eventually it gets to the point where if they're not getting any, you know, just like Donna, it took them years to decide to tear their old storefronts down in town. And if I come up with the money to do it,
if you can come up with a way that makes it viable, that's the key. Chicago did that just south of the Loop. That used to be a very blighted area. They went in and tore all that out. And they got developers in there now, and they got some nice.
totally, yeah.
Right, it's a totally different deal, but that's where we're.
Yeah, I just can't get my mind off the 20,000.
But if we clean up the property, there's no way that that should keep it.
Well, you
But
can't.
maybe we can come up with 10,000. You know, and then each year, X number of properties, it's like, you know, let's say it was 10,000. And it's like, okay, well, we can definitely take care of this one, and we'll just sit on the other two, that 10,000 if they can grow, because let's say it takes 20,000 to do the asphalt. It's like, okay, we got a ballpark figure, well, if we said 10 grand a year, Terry, in 2 years, we'll have enough, and we'll get Jim to file on it. You know, even if we start small, well, we gotta start somewhere, because these things are just getting worse and worse.
The benefits of the county may be largely intangible also, but they're there.
Yeah.
And you can't
Yeah.
overlook them. Like I said, the image of this county is something we have to be aware of. If we want people to come and live in this county or stay in this county, we've got to look at these kinds of things.
And the full board's gonna have to decide if condemning certain properties or something they want to do. If they don't want to do it, then there's no point.
But my question is, if that's starting and originating with this committee, you know, when you said about finance, establishing a fund, you know, if it starts with this committee and go with a recommendation to finance to set up a fund of X number of dollars, I guess that's my question, is that what we're trying to do?
It's just another avenue to clean up nuisance and go after the problem. And
I understand what Dan is saying about the money part of it. I think we're all in agreement there, but we got the other side of the coin.
And in the meantime, if we take the property and then it takes us 6 months to get the thing tore down, we own that property for 6 months, we hold the liability out of 6 months. That's what I don't like, and you get a kid running around, as you said, they like to, fool around, goof around.
Maybe
Kid
we
goes
need-
in there and then the house collapses, the liability of the county, I just can't get my mind wrapped around it either, it makes me nervous.
But like I said, too, there may be liability, but not,
I think we need to move this along and
Yeah.
recommend it to finance, and then in the meantime, maybe we can get something from Jim Devine. Jim Devine can put his input into.
yeah, I asked him to be here, but he couldn't come today because he's working
We
on
can
the
get his
project.
opinion at
Yeah.
the full board meeting. I think we'll just kind of hold off on this for now, move along. Get finance put on their agenda. Okay. Move along to the subdivision ordinance
What do you want
revision.
me to do with this?
you want me to have it back?
Huh?
You want me to have it
Why
back?
don't you hold on to it?
Okay.
Next month or whatever?
Can we get another copy, like we can make it in zoning office of the pictures?
She's got one there.
There's one here, there's one
Oh,
here.
okay.
What I can, this is the entire house that I can find on the...
I'll look at it, I'll come down there and look at it.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving along to subdivision ordinance revisions. We discussed it last month, and, remember, I don't believe we
We
had
don't have a quorum,
Yeah.
we'll push it till next month.
Yeah, I think we'll just, move it to next month too. Move along to the Pilot Hill Wind Farm update.
Just, we got the letter from back in April 21st of 2011. That gives a conditional use permit for 47 wind turbines in Elks Grove Township. And it says the wind permit does not have an expiration date for prior to the start of construction of this wind farm. So, it was a question of whether they could continue to add towers. So, in reading this, like I said, without getting, to me, that means that's the max under the old ordinance they can do. They're at 42 right now. They've not requested any more, at this point. And then that's where that is. As far as the current village permit, the 42nd permit is still in my office. They have not asked for it yet. They've paid the money. We checked the setbacks, it looks okay on our end as far as the setbacks are concerned. There was an issue, there was concern about that, voiced by Rudy Splitter, and also Dan was out there too.
It's close.
It's
gotta be darn
close, yeah. And there's more than that, just that one was close. There's some of the right on setback line. But, it's here with, what they sent us. If they put it beside it where they told us to beside it, it looks like it should be in compliance. Joel, what I asked for was remaining permits. I contacted Joel, Moore before I gave the okay. I contacted Jim Devine, and Jim advised me, said that Joel says that he's comfortable, and that, then I'm obligated to release those permits. Called Joel called Rudy was reluctant, but said, our recourse now is with the escrow account anyway, it's not gonna be holding up construction. So reluctantly, go ahead. Then we told Joel called me, said, let him go, so they have all the building permits now. So that's where that is. So we're just, that's where it's at.
Okay. Guess we'll move along then, because that's about all there really is. So, to discussion, Can't make a motion, but we can discuss on the date and time for future planning and zoning meetings. I myself, I'm comfortable with keeping them where they're at. I'm not sure about everybody else. How does it work for you? Works pretty good for you. Same time? I mean, that's good enough for me. I don't think there's any real need to change it.
Anybody want us to change it?
No, I just figured I'd put it on the agenda just in case anybody...
And the only thing is if I want one, there's, on the web, and there's discussion on that today, I would, yeah, if they're not gonna change their meeting time, that'd be my speculation.
I think they should do like we did at judicial, just agree to have it over there, the same, and just record it, put up a picture on the thing, and well, somebody want to listen to the audio?
I think that'd be better. But, so there's no reason to change ours, right? Yeah.
Well, we'll move on from there. Can't approve claims.
Don't you have to recommend?
Yeah, we can recommend. Everybody wants to look at them.
The list is also on the back.
Let's look on the back and move forward.
Who are you gonna recommend it to?
Full board.
Okay,
Make a recommendation to the full board to approve claims. And we can get them paid this month.
you have to pass those around to everybody at the meeting then?
We could if they want to look at them.
Give them a printout
Yeah,
sheet.
get a printout, and then if they want to look at the claims, they can look at the list. Yeah,
Unfortunately, never had to do that.
yeah.
In the past, well, maybe not when you've been here, but
Sometimes they have
we
a
have
form page. We have
you want me to just put in that they recommend about somebody?
unless somebody wants to make a recommendation, I guess I'll make a recommendation, move it to full board for approval. Vote on that? No.
Can't vote on anything.
Remember, fresh out. Okay, any old business?
I have, 3 really nice printers still in the building. Don't need them. I could just to, would be, I think it'd be an injustice to, they're new enough, to be an injustice just to discard art and recycle, any kind of recycling thing. One, the color of it. What do you want me to do? I mean, try to find people to buy them, or the other departments want them? I know we're trying to get away from that. We're trying to go to, because we're going to that maintenance agreement with all the improvement machines that we bought, trying to reduce costs that way. So if they were older, I'd say just dump them, but they're not. They're pretty new and they're in really good shape and they're good ones.
I would say probably just, tell them that'd be great, we don't need them.
Can you donate them to some nonprofit?
Can't do that. Can't do that.
So, just give it a thought, it's on the estimate side of the day. Just think about it.
If you're gonna sell them, we have to advertise for that.
Probably.
Are they worth enough to make that a worthwhile approach?
that color one couldn't have been a cheap printer, yeah, I remember what it cost.
We had a
I'd have to look it up.
We had a $25,000 phone system at the health department that we sold for $200.
Yeah. I know, I get it.
We never spent a lot. We were shoppers.
I mean,
It's a good printer.
I mean, I would, like I say, can't donate them. I mean, I hate the recycling. But, you know, if somebody can get some use out of it, it'd be more beneficial than recycling. Because what's gonna happen if you recycle, if somebody's working with recycling, they'll see them, they're just gonna take them and use them themselves.
Well, I guess if there, you know, the first step might be to see if there's any other departments here that have a use for them as a backup or whatever the case would be. Failing that, then.
And I got a HP on my desk, I never use it anymore. It just sits there, it flex dust, because once we go to proven machine, our new machine's proven, I send everything there, because it's on there all on the maintenance screen. So I mean, and that's where the goal was, you know, to get rid of those individual printers like that, because it's just the weight that.
That seems to be what everybody's doing. That's what they're doing down in the health department, so, I mean, yeah, I understand, but.
So, I mean, I just let you know that they're there, I don't know what to do with them. I mean, I'll ask around, I mean, I got rid of typewriters in the sheriff's department, that worked out. Deputies like to type the reports on all the typewriters for some reason, so. All right, that's it.
Any new business? Seeing none? Motion to adjourn?
Can't do that.
Yeah. No? Can't make a motion to adjourn.
One and done.
You're done.
Nice talking to you today.
I think we need to add these people to the
Well, I agree. I think we got one person on the committee that's probably not viable. And certainly got to get at least one more. But it needs to be somebody that's going to attend the meeting.
Who's in that school today?
Really? Back in my day, it was